Good morning again. We're back with the second half of Village in Motion today, and this time we have some visitors from Philanthropy, our philanthropy team, and two of our Philanthropy resident council. We have Kimberly Nelson here with us. Kimberly, would you introduce your guests?
Good morning.
Good
We're
morning.
super excited to be here today because we're going to talk a little bit about scholars. And I brought two members of our Philanthropy Committee, so Craig Preston and Dick Sienkiewicz. I'll say the newer members of our team.
Oh, that's good.
This is their second year on the Philanthropy Committee, and so we're really excited. This is the time where we raise money each year for our scholars. And residents probably got in their cubby a newsletter that looks like this, and if for some reason they didn't, they misplaced it, they're a new resident and didn't get it, please call Philanthropy and we'll get you one.
And I saw there were some extras by a poster in one of the dining rooms.
Yes.
So that's good.
Yes, we did. Thank you. We do right now. We have a easel poster in the dining rooms till tomorrow with some extras. So we're trying to get the word out.
Could they pick up one at a front desk?
And some of the front desks do have them. We try not to overload the front desk. So some have them, some might have run out.
Okay.
So check that. But I wanted to let Craig start us off because you were really instrumental in the interviews and who are these students and sort of why is the scholarship program important from your perspective. So I thought you could just share some personal insight on the scholarship.
I'd say for the last 2 years I've been fortunate to be a part of the Philanthropy Committee, and particularly in interviewing potential scholars for scholarships. And it's been the most inspiring opportunity for me. These young men and women who we just assume they're in our dining rooms taking care of us, but you get to know them personally. You find out their backgrounds, where they are such a versatile group. It's fascinating. They're representing cultures from all over the world. They're very intense about what they're doing, and they're very serious about their goals. And all these young men and women have already achieved their scholastic requirements, and now they're finishing up their hours and other things to do.
And how many hours do they need to work for us in order to begin to qualify?
1,000 hours.
1,000 hours. And these kids work, what, 4 or 5 hours a day? It takes a long time to add up to 1,000 hours, is my point. Yes.
It usually takes a minimum of 2 years.
I can believe it.
Just because, remember, they're high school students. The dining shift is not like an 8-hour shift after school, of course. And then they have their extracurricular activities, so those who might be in music or sports, those seasons, their working time might be slightly modified than maybe at the summertime. So it does take a bit of time. So it is quite a commitment that they make, not only to Green Spring for working, but also their grades in order to qualify for the scholarship.
And I think that tells us a lot about the quality of the students that we have working for us, that's a big goal to reach. It takes a long time, and they stick with it.
But these young people are the future of our country, as you know.
That's right.
And they've already demonstrated that they're capable of taking on responsibility and reaching towards goals. It's our opportunity as residents here to encourage them and reward their efforts. And that's why we ask for people to be generous in their support of the students.
That is very well said.
Yeah.
Very well said. Thank you.
Yeah. And then I know Dick and I were talking the other day, and he sort of heard some things around the dinner table. You know, you sort of hear truths, fact and fiction around the dinner table. And some things that are sometimes, well, what is the scholarship fund? And I thought it was the same as the staff, this, that, and the other. And so I've sort of asked Dick to sort of talk about the numbers and a little bit about that clarification, if you don't mind.
Well, one of the things that people don't realize or misunderstand is the students are paid to work in the dining rooms, so they receive a wage. Then we have something that Resident Life Works calls the Staff Appreciation Fund, which we do later in the year, and the checks. And these students also qualify for those. So it's not the wage, it's not the tip, it's something entirely different. It is a scholarship, which the residents choose to reward these young people with by giving them a $10,000 scholarship.
But we don't just hand them a check for
No,
$10,000.
no, that's the next part.
Tell us how that works.
And that is interesting because some people think that's what happens, and it doesn't. They compete for these scholarships. They start out, and we have some in the wait staff that have 1,300 or 1,400 hours they've accumulated, which means they've worked a lot. Some of them started as early as the 8th grade.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when they're 14, they can start working. And word goes out among families and among friends and among other students about Green Spring and working and what they can do. So that's how a lot of the recruiting is done. Well, when they are competing and they start to hear about the scholarship and they're interested in it, what they learn is the scholarship is $10,000 for 4 years, up to 4 years. And the scholarships do not go directly to the student. They have to be accepted at a school program. And Green Spring, Kimberly, sends the checks by semester to that school or university. And they get it by semester. So that's how the money goes out. Now somebody said, well, what if they don't finish? Well, then they don't get the rest of the money. I mean, the $10,000 is a program for 4 years. It is not something they walk in and we hand them a check.
Do they have to maintain a specific grade point hour?
Yes.
And that is
It's above a C.
above a C.
Yeah, but we have a lot of students that are really A-plus students. I mean, as we were going through the interview process, you really are impressed. And you're impressed because they work so hard. We know how hard they work here, and they tolerate a lot from us.
They do. They're very patient.
A lot of the residents are less than amenable to some of them and the demands they put in.
yourself.
And these kids, well, you just look around, you see some people, and you kind of wonder about it. But they do. They're very, very amenable, and they're very pleasant, and they're always. They always have a nice smile, and what can I do for you? Thank you for allowing me to serve you. And they say these kinds of things, and they mean it.
I think it's unusual life training for them.
Well, they are, but you have to remember the cultures they come from that Craig spoke about. I mean, they come from cultures that respect for the elderly, the older, is very ingrained in them. And they really do carry that forward. Last year we had a student who was a scholar and graduated, and he was from Afghanistan. And of course, so many of these are from other countries. We have them from Ethiopia, from Afghanistan, from Iraq, from Morocco. It's incredible where their families come from. There's a young lady that works in the Jefferson that's been in the United States 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And she'll be one of our scholars next year.
Good.
She's a junior, and she works very hard. But when you listen to them and talk to them and start to get an insight into them, you have to be very impressed.
I see them learning from each other, too. If one says, oh, can I help you? And the other guy watching him say, well, maybe I should do that with someone that I think looks a little unsure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Also, on the other hand, you get to consider them as family members. Excuse me, family members. Because you see them every night at dinner,
Right.
and sometimes you have an opportunity to help them in their studies. So we have a mentoring program here that helps them, and you get to know them. And it's a sad thing because they finish here and they leave us and they're gone.
Okay, I have two questions. The first is, do we ever encourage our students to learn about career fields by talking to people here at Green Spring who have been in that field? We were talking at dinner one night to a lovely young lady in the cafe, and we were saying, well, what do you want to do? And she was thinking this and this. And I said, well, what's involved in that? Well, I don't exactly know. And I wondered if part of the mentoring that we do is to, if you want to become every young girl wants to become a veterinarian. I'm sure someplace here there's a retired veterinarian. To sit down and talk with this student and say, this is what it's like, this is what the schooling's like, this is what the work is like. Do we do any of that?
So we don't have a formal program that does that per se. When we talk about the mentoring that Craig and Dick were referring to, many times it has to do with helping them with a specific class that maybe they're
excellent.
struggling with.
Excellent.
And Hazel Poole, who helps with the ESL classes, also helps recruit if we have a student in need. She helps try to find maybe a resident who's really good in math or really good in a science.
Oh, that's great.
To help a student with maybe something one-on-one if they're struggling. So we're trying at this stage to really help give them a good foundation with their education.
Right.
And in many times, their career centers at their high school are doing a lot of those programs like you mentioned, where they're bringing these outside speakers and trying to expose them to other opportunities.
Yeah. So my other question is, what's our track record? How many scholarships have we given that we were able to give out all 4 years worth and the student graduated?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, darn. I'm
And
sorry. I should have warned you.
That's, yeah. So right now, because I didn't pull the numbers, so we gave our first scholarship out in 2000, and we had one, and she did all 4 years. So that's
Good.
100%
That's one.
success rate.
Yes.
And then after that, our numbers have varied depending on the class. I would say 90% of our students of late are finishing the program.
Excellent.
Because the committee and our dining services team are really so good about encouraging the students, being really clear in the interviews that the committee does about how important this is, that this is the residents' money, they need to make us proud. I mean, the residents can say things that I can't say.
And it's like a little extra family support there too, not only from their cultures, but from, hey, all of these people gave me this money to help fund my college education.
And residents may not know that, Corey Young in Village Square Dining, he was one of our scholars.
I heard that just the other day.
Yes. And
what a good advertisement he is.
Yes,
Yes, he is.
Yes, and then Molly, as Dick was going to just reference, I saw jump in. So I'll let you.
Molly, I don't.
Molly Everett.
She and her sister were here, and they were scholars. And Molly went on to Mary Washington University and graduated. And now she's just finished, and she's come back, and she's working with Kimberly because that's her field, and she's really excited to be here. Yeah. But we have a number of them that come back to work here while they are in school. We have two in the Jefferson dining room.
Good.
And they are already in college. They've been there their second year, and the hours that we have and the conditions we have makes it very convenient for them to keep working. A couple of years ago, there was a lot of confusion about students going off to college, and they wanted to come back, and they wanted to work, and this is, well, if they go away to school, and I mean away, it's not convenient for them to come to work here.
Sure.
They can't be on our schedule. And people say, well, when they come home on vacation, why can't they work? The dining services people have to have a schedule of the people, and they need to know how many wait staff they're going to have. So that's how that all works. But for the students who do choose to go, for example, a number go to Nova.
This is a perfect place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Many go to Marymount up in Arlington. And schools like that, it's convenient for them if
and
they
it's good
choose.
for us. We have fully trained wait staff that we don't have to retrain new ones coming along. We are almost out of time. Kimberly, I can feel you have something else to say.
Yep. Well,
excuse me.
I just, I want to first thank, of course, the committee, because they are really instrumental in this program. And residents are really being very generous, and we really appreciate that. So we want to remind residents, if you haven't written a check, to please consider writing a tax-deductible charitable contribution. But I got a little note from a couple that just said, enclosed is our contribution to the 2016 Scholarship Fund. This is our annual contribution to a most wonderful fund. These are some wonderful kids, and we are truly invested in helping them get an education.
Excellent.
And I think that just is a great reflection of that spirit here at Green Spring, where we're just giving them a helping hand.
Right.
It is definitely, doesn't fund their full education, but it helps give them a little bump in today's world.
Yeah.
And they know that. That's the important
And they
thing. They
appreciate
know,
it.
they appreciate it.
And they so appreciate, and we really appreciate the residents for rallying behind this program.
Well, we invite all of you to give early, give often, just like voting.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a wonderful cause, and students who well deserve the assistance as they enter these college years.